The village of Everbrook was quiet, peaceful, and full of life. It sat in a green valley, surrounded by tall trees and gentle hills. The people here lived simple, happy lives. They worked on farms, raised animals, and helped one another whenever someone needed help. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and nothing bad ever seemed to happen. Gwen was a kind and beautiful girl who lived in Everbrook. She had long, golden hair that shone in the sunlight and eyes as blue as the summer sky. She was known for being sweet, but there was something about her that made people feel like she was hiding a secret. Her mother had passed away when she was very young, so she grew up with only her father, who was always busy working. Gwen spent a lot of time walking through the woods, thinking, trying to fill the emptiness in her heart. There was always a quiet sadness inside her, though she couldn't explain why. Henry, a boy from the village, was her closest friend. He was strong, with short brown hair, and a smile that could make anyone feel better. He worked with his father on the family farm, taking care of the animals. Henry loved spending time with Gwen, though he had never been able to tell her how much he cared for her. He always noticed the small things about her, the way she smiled, the way she looked at the forest, the way her laughter sounded. One day, while walking through the village square, Gwen and Henry saw a woman that neither of them recognized. She was tall and graceful, with dark hair that flowed like silk. She wore fine clothes, something that was rare in Everbrook. She seemed different from everyone else. She was Lady Adelina, and when she entered the village, she caught the attention of everyone around her. Henry smiled when he saw her. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" he said, his eyes following her every movement. Gwen looked at Lady Adelina, feeling something stir inside her. There was no denying the woman's beauty, but something about her made Gwen uneasy. The way she moved, the way she held herself. It was like Lady Adelina was hiding something. Gwen tried to ignore the feeling, but couldn't shake it. "Who is she?" Gwen asked quietly. "She just moved into that big house on the hill," Henry said. "I heard she's lived in many places before coming here. She's a bit of a mystery." Gwen watched Lady Adelina as she walked through the square, speaking softly to the villagers. She was polite, but there was a distance to her. She was different from the people of Everbrook, and Gwen couldn't stop wondering why she was here. Later that afternoon, Gwen and her best friend, Madeline, decided to take a walk through the forest. Madeline was always full of energy, with bright red hair and a smile that never faded. She loved asking questions and never seemed afraid to explore the unknown. Gwen, on the other hand, was quieter and more reserved, but she enjoyed Madeline's company. Sometimes the two of them would wander deep into the woods, talking about anything and everything. As they walked, Gwen couldn't help but feel that the forest was somehow calling her. There was a peace in the trees and the quiet that made her feel connected to something older, something deeper. The air smelled like fresh pine, and the leaves rustled softly in the breeze. "Do you think we'll ever find something new out here?" Madeline asked, her voice full of excitement. She was always looking for adventure. "I don't know," Gwen said, smiling softly. "But there's something special about this place. I feel like I belong here." They walked deeper into the forest, and soon they found a small, hidden pond. The water was clear and still, reflecting the sky above. Gwen knelt by the edge, her fingers lightly brushing the surface of the water. She had been to this pond before, but today it felt different. There was a strange connection to the place, like it held a secret that only she could understand. "This is beautiful," Madeline said, sitting beside her. "But why does it feel like we've been here before?" Gwen didn't answer. She only stared at the water, lost in thought. It was as if the pond was waiting for her to uncover something, but she didn't know what it was. Lady Adelina's visits to the village became more frequent, and each time she appeared, the villagers couldn't help but talk about her. She was always elegant, always graceful, and always distant. Gwen found herself thinking about the woman more and more, though she couldn't explain why. There was something about her that made Gwen uneasy, something hidden beneath the surface. One evening, Lady Adelina invited Gwen and Henry to her grand house on the hill. She told them she wanted to get to know them better, to learn about the people of the village. Gwen was hesitant at first. The thought of visiting the mysterious woman's home made her nervous. But Henry was excited, and Gwen didn't want to disappoint him. When they arrived at the house, Gwen immediately felt the weight of its history. The walls were dark, and the air inside felt cool, almost cold. It was clear that Lady Adelina had lived here for a long time, but the house felt empty, like no one had truly lived in it for years. Lady Adelina welcomed them with a warm smile and offered them sweet drinks. "Please, make yourselves at home," she said, her voice smooth and pleasant. Gwen and Henry sat down, but Gwen couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The house was beautiful, but it felt lonely, as though the walls had secrets they had kept for years. Lady Adelina spoke about the village's history and the people who lived there, but Gwen couldn't focus on her words. Instead, her eyes wandered to the bookshelves, filled with old books and trinkets. One of the books was slightly out of place, and when Gwen reached to fix it, a letter fell to the ground. She quickly picked it up and tried to read it, but Lady Adelina noticed. "What is it?" she asked, her tone polite but sharp. Gwen quickly put the letter back, pretending nothing had happened. "It's nothing," she said softly. The next day, Gwen couldn't stop thinking about the letter. She knew it meant something. There was something Lady Adelina was hiding, something important. She couldn't leave it at that. She needed to find out more. That night, Gwen decided to sneak back to the house. She waited until everyone was asleep before slipping out of her home and making her way up the hill to Lady Adelina's house. The night was quiet, and the moonlight cast long shadows on the ground. When she entered the house, the silence seemed to swallow her whole. The air was heavy, and the darkness felt suffocating. Gwen moved through the rooms, her heart pounding in her chest. She had to find the truth. In the study, Gwen found an old diary hidden behind a stack of books. The pages were yellow with age, but the writing was still clear. She opened it and began reading. The diary belonged to Lady Adelina's mother. It told the story of a great love that had once existed, but that love had turned into betrayal. The diary spoke of a curse, something that had haunted Lady Adelina's family for generations. Gwen's heart raced as she read the words, realizing that Lady Adelina's past was darker than she had imagined. Now, from this point, the story will be continued in the next part.